The New York State Department of Transportation presents the DOT POD.
And welcome into the DOT-POD. I'm Josh Heller.
And I'm Anya.
And we are delighted to have you joining us. While our surroundings may sound a bit different today, similar to last episode, because we are once again on location at Mohawk Valley Community College, the Jorgensen Athletic Center here in Utica for the NYSDOT Conference. That is the New York State Association of Transportation Engineers annual conference. If you want to know more about the NYSDOT Conference, you can actually listen to the DOT-POD episode that was on a couple weeks ago, our previous episode, focusing on the conference itself. You can find that anywhere you listen to your podcast. But today, we're talking about something a little bit different. We're talking about a legendary annual road race that's held right here where we are in Utica. It is the Boilermaker, and it is happening right around the corner on July 14th.
It's a very popular event. The 15K race started in 1978, and it's grown into a week-long celebration, and it draws more than 20,000 runners. It's amazing how this town packs them in. There are spectators and an army of dedicated volunteers as well. The question today, so what's the big connection between the Boilermaker and the New York State Department of Transportation? Well, you are about to find out. First, we'd like to introduce you to Boilermaker Race Director Jim Stasaitis and NYSDOT's Mike Palowski, who is the Regional Director of Operations.
Good morning.
Welcome.
Morning.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much for having us.
Yes.
So you were both born and raised in Utica. Jim, we'll start with you. Share a little bit, about yourself, and and we'll obviously talk more about the Boilermaker, but just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Born and raised in Utica 71 years ago. Loved the town. My wife married me because I was going to stay here. So, my wife, Jan. And, but again, just grew up here and loving everything about it. Who else in the country has a ski area right in the middle of town?
Wow.
Utica does.
Yeah.
So it's a great place to live. Really is.
And Mike, you're also born and bred Utica guy?
That's correct. Product actually right here of Mohawk Valley Community College. I received my 2-year Associate's Engineering degree from Mohawk Valley Community College. Myself and my wife both born and raised here in the Utica area. And actually we've been involved with the Boilermaker for a number of years. I think the first time I ran the Boilermaker was when I was 16 or 17 years old. Had a lot of family members who also ran it, and some great memories of going down to the post-race parties. And it's a wonderful, wonderful event for the area.
Excellent. Jim, tell us a little bit more about yourself, your background prior to getting into the Boilermaker.
Okay, well, I was a mechanic for years, and one day, guys who hang out at the garage said, "Wait, we're going to run the Boilermaker." And I sort of looked at them with a smile and said, "You know what kind of training you have to do to run 9.3 miles?" "Oh, no, we're going to get it. We just bought shoes last night and this and that." I said, "You should run. You're in good shape." Well, I thought about it a little bit. I was a ski patrol, and I had just gotten off of the winter of skiing. I thought I was in good shape. So I said, maybe I will try it. So I went out and got a pair of running shoes. I remember it was April 1st. I was 30 years old. It was April 1st. And I came right over here to MVCC, and I'm going to do a mile on the track. Well, I did a mile on the track, and I felt good until the next day. I woke up, and I was walking around, excuse the expression, but like I had a load in my pants. Oh, my God, my legs were killing me. But I went back the next day and ran a mile, walked a mile. And make a long story short, on the second Sunday in July that year, I ran a 69:30 15K race. So I was extremely happy, and then I was hooked. I was hooked on running and hooked on the race.
What about your buddies? Did they make it to the starting line, or were you the only one?
There was the one who I thought would drop out first, actually lasted 10 days in training. Mm-hmm. But that was it. Out of the group, I was the only one.
So this really began your lifelong passion for running.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I always said, if I had had the job that I have now when I was in my 40s, it would have been great.
Yeah.
So, Mike, we'll go to you. Tell us a little bit about your background and what you do here at DOT, and then we'll obviously talk more about your experiences in the Boilermaker. But tell us about yourself and your background.
Well, as the operations director here for State DOT in the Mohawk Valley area, it's my responsibility to make sure that all of our maintenance forces have the appropriate tools to go out and make sure they can get the job done, including prepping for the Boilermaker, making sure we can have traffic properly controlled, making sure we have the race course all cleaned up. Really good partner with the cities, state police, Really a real showcase of what we can do at DOT, particularly when we start leveraging some of what we can do with our partners in the area. So it's been really nice working with DOT, and particularly with our prep with the Boilermaker.
Now, did you run the Boilermaker first or start working with the Boilermaker first?
So I ran the Boilermaker first. It was 16 or 17. I was trying to look up the records. I kept all my old bibs, but I can't find the first 3 or 4 that we had. And I think I ended up running 12 in a row. So that was my experience actually running the Boilermaker, going down to the post-race parties, being involved with families, friends. Really great event. Really didn't treat it so much as an actual race, trying to get a good score. Just more of a community event, being out there, family, friends, and enjoying the Utica area.
It really is. So I've run it one time back in 2019, and it's a carnival. Really, I mean, it's a massive party. I mean, I'll give you a little background. I was training for a marathon, and I used to run a lot when I was younger, and I was like, I want to get back into running. And so I thought, here's what I'll do. I'll run a 5K, a 10K, a 15K, a half marathon, and a full marathon, which I did sort of. Run is a strong word to use, but we finished. And so the 15K was the Boilermaker. So I've been running in races or whatnot, but you're right, it was different. It was not, I came in like, I want a specific time, and I finished, and I was like, I don't really care. Like it's just a lot of fun, and I think for me, not being from here was just the community buy-in was enormous. I mean, you can't go a block without seeing people on their front yards. I mean, just talk about the how the community has really turned this into their own kind of showcase as to what Utica is all about.
It is amazing how the community has just adopted the Boilermaker, and they look forward to it every year. People come, the elite runners who come here, all the out-of-towners, they just can't believe the number of people out there on the course just cheering you on, and it's great. And I'm proud to be from this area where everybody has good things to say. You were saying how, it's not really like a race, it's more of a party. Well, one of our catchphrases a few years ago, it's a party where a race breaks out, So again,
is fair,
it is.
Right. Let's go back to the early beginnings of the Boilermaker back in 1978, right?
Yes.
So it evolved into what it is now, but take us back in time to what that era was like, and what was the involvement with DOT? Jim, I'll let you start, and then maybe Mike, you can jump in about that.
Okay,
too.
well, I was not a runner then, but one of our customers was one of the founding members of the group, and he asked, we needed timers out on the course. So he asked me if I wanted to be a timer, so I was at the 5-mile mark calling out times every 3 seconds to the runners so they knew how fast they were going, keeping their pace. At that point, I really wasn't involved other than that, and then I was going to have a couple beers at the end. Mm-hmm. And then a few years went by, I got more involved. But getting into the nitty-gritty with the DOT, it was because we're running on state highways, Champlain Ave, Burstone Road, because we start, the start line used to go all the way down to Route 5S. So we had to partner with them, and they were always cooperative. They go out of their way to help us. They know what the event is, and I'll tell you what, when we go to conferences and we talk about the cooperation we have with state DOT, with the city, with the county, they are just envious of what we have here in New York, in central New York, with the Boilermaker. Again, everybody bends over backwards for this race, and that makes my life easier, and they all make me look good.
So, Mike, initially, I'm going to guess this was more like, hey, we're going to have a race, and DOT kind of closed down a few roads and things like that. How has it evolved, and what do we see now in Utica?
So you're right. Back in 1970, I don't have any information on that, but I can imagine, just like you said, it was simple. We'll drag out a couple of barrels. We'll go through. We'll close the road. Since I've been involved, I started working at DOT in the early 90s. We've been very involved with the Boilermaker, and we also were ensuring that we had proper permits, insurance, traffic control, and things like that in place. And even to this day, we partner with the Boilermaker. We treat it with a couple different ways to go through and look at it. One is a traffic management event. We need to make sure that the traffic is properly controlled. People still get from point A to point P, making sure that we have roads that are properly closed. So when pedestrians are out there on the road, the race runners are actually out there running, that we have it properly closed. We also go through and treat it as an emergency management situation. We partner with the Boilermaker and all the law enforcement professionals. We actually are sitting in at the war room. We have a couple of DOT reps there as well, in case there was something that we need to react to really quickly. And we also look at this as a actual highway maintenance responsibility. So we'll work with the city, make sure that the roads are patched, make sure there's no potholes, any tripping hazards for the runners. We'll come in at midnight before the event. And I wish I had a picture of it because it really shows the partnership. DOT, we own a couple pickup street sweepers. City owns a couple street sweepers. So you can just picture two DOT yellow street sweepers going down the road with two white city street sweepers going down the road from the beginning of the course all the way to the end of the course. To me, that picture really would represents what happens at the Boilermaker.
And it's not just making sure the streets are nice. I mean, the beautification that takes place ahead of time to make Utica look its best,
Sure.
right? To give people who are coming from out of town, out of state, out of country, the best possible view of Utica. I mean, the landscaping. I mean, there's so much more that goes into it than just closing a road.
Sure. The City Parks Department, they do an outstanding job making sure that all of the landscaping in the areas, fresh mulch, flowers, and things like that. DOT, it's more of our responsibility, particularly on some of the gateways into the city, making sure that we have the right-of-way mowed, any of the litter, debris, things like that picked up as well. We also will go down at the start of the race and make sure that there's an infield where a lot of a lot of the runners stage before the race.
And bathrooms. There are bathrooms there too.
Yep. We call that the grassy knoll, but it's more of an island. And I want to say it was about 15 years ago when this race started getting too big for ECR to have all the porta-johns there. We got permission from DOT to use that piece of property. And back then, they used to put in a temporary culvert so people would not have to walk through the gully and get over there. And they did that. And now it's a permanent one. And actually, they just mowed it yesterday, I believe. And they'll probably mow it a couple more times before the race. And we'll put a number of porta-johns over there. And it's a great place for staging. The runners can relax, a few trees to get under, whatever. And but they do a fantastic job. A lot of people don't know everything that goes into this race. They think, start line on the start, line at the finish, on your mark, set, go, and that's it. But DOT is there at every one of our security meetings. We start those in November and have them monthly. There were a number of DOT people. We had a tabletop exercise last week. They were there. They're good partners and great group to work with.
Yeah, as you said, oftentimes people don't notice like enhancements that are within cities, that are made there to make their lives more comfortable and to enhance quality of life. But as you said, this has made a big difference. Even though people may not know where it comes from, they know that it's here, and it's a welcome reminder.
They don't ask how the sausage is made; they just enjoy it.
And
that's okay. I mean, that's what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
That's what it's supposed to be.
And really, DOT goes out of their way to make sure that anything on any of their highways, it's taken care of. I remember it had to be 12, 14 years ago. They were redoing Upper Champlain Ave, and they were milling it. And I remember a couple days before, they stopped all the work and they started mounding up around the manholes that were raised up because of the milling to make sure nobody was going to trip over them. And again, taking care of us, letting us know what's going on. And then Lower Champlain Ave 4 years ago, when that first project was talked about, 2 years ahead of time before it started, they came to us and said, this is what's going to happen. What can we do to make it passable for that weekend? And we said, why don't we just make a detour? Why should you have to go through working halfway through, put it all back together, then tear it all apart again? And they were very instrumental in coming up. We came up with an easy detour and worked well with it. And again, great partnership we have.
And one of the things that, I didn't even think about this, but when we were talking about the roads and making sure that there are no potholes and things like that. I mean, there's a wheelchair component of this prior to the race going off. So, I mean, that's right. A huge safety issue if the roads are not what they need to be, leading into that race. I mean, especially on some of the hills. I mean, when you're going down some of those hills, and I can only imagine when the wheelchairs are going down some of those hills, you're picking up some good speed, and you need to make sure that the road you're on is flat.
Right. How is-
Everybody's looking to run down Lower Champlain Ave this year. It's wider. It's very nice. They did a fantastic job down there.
How does that work with DOT? As Josh was saying, you have all ability participants in this road race. How does that work, and how does DOT look at that for everybody?
So, as Jim was saying, what we'll do if we have any reconstruction projects in the area, because obviously it's on the state highway, we still need to make sure we can get there and get some of the work completed when we need be. And we reach out to Boilermaker early, trying to come up with some suggestions how best we can go through and do the work. In part of our contract documents, we always have explicit language for the contractor that we hire that, hey, you're having one of the biggest road races in the area coming through here. So it's really, really important to make sure that we have everything passable for not only the participants, but also those watching the courses along the sides of it. And then with the wheelchair component of the race, which is really a sight to behold. It's amazing what those athletes are able to do and the speeds that they generate in some of those wheelchairs. But we'll make sure that the roads is traversable, make sure again that there's no tripping hazards, making sure that it's clear for not only the runners, but also for those wheelchair participants as well. And there, I remember too, Jim, when we had that detour, we were concerned about some of the speeds coming down Champlain with the wheelchairs making a 90-degree turn. I think we actually put up some soft crash barriers, I'll call, in case somebody wasn't able to navigate that turn. And again, it just demonstrates that partnership that we have with the Boilermaker.
Quick question I have about the name. The Boilermaker is called the Boilermaker. Why?
Because Utica Boilers, at the time Utica Radiator, was celebrating their 50th anniversary. And Earl Reed, whose father was one of the founders of Utica Radiator, Earl wanted to give back to the community. That it was a great community, so he says, let's have a race and let's just, So he got together with a couple of his running buddies, and happened to be owner of the brewery. And so they closed down for a week in the summer, and the people that worked at Utica Boilers and the foundry, they were, they had a shot and a beer. That was their drink, a Boilermaker. Plus, they made boilers there. So again, Boilermaker. Let's call it the Boilermaker. Yes.
So the urban legend I heard was that folks at the end of the day on a Friday, working this hot, sweaty foundry, would run to the boiler, run to the brewery. So at the end of the day, that kind of started
the founding members.
I'm going to believe that just for me personally because I like that. So I'm going to definitely believe that. When we're closing off roads, and this is often the case, when it comes to DOT, and whether it's for work or whatever, it's an inconvenience. There's no question about it. There's an inconvenience for the community, but it seems like the community is so bought in here that they expect it, they know it, they're prepared for it, and they welcome it. It's not an inconvenience anymore.
Not really. Again, with the things that DOT does for us, the variable message signs, the permanent ones, the portable ones, they have them out all over the place. And again, the week before, expect traffic delays, getting the message out to the public. People in Utica know, but still sometimes they forget, whatever. But they're out, the signs are out there, they're getting changed, the message is getting changed, daily, to keep everybody apprised of what's going to happen, what's not going to be able to, where you're not going to be able to go. Again, it's just what DOT does to help us, help the community, and just make everything better for the race.
That brings up a good point as well. Candidly, it's easier to close the road than it is to open the road. If you think about it, you got to make sure that before you take down those barrels and open that road, that the course is open and there's no pedestrians out there. So really another great optics of the course is you'll see the very last runner in the race. You'll see right behind them city and state DOT crews sweeping up, taking all of the cups out of the roadway, and making sure that as soon as that race is over, we can get traffic right back to their traditional pattern so folks can get on their way.
And DOT is involved in more than just roadways and making sure that everything runs smoothly. There are also members running in this race as well. And you've run in this race in the past.
I was involved in a couple of the, we call them corporate cups. So back then it may have been a different term, but DOT for years we've sponsored an organizational running team, and we do to this day. This year again we're going to have another another team out there. So it really is. It shows that we're involved in the community. We're involved in the race. We also DOT through our workers, our unions, PEF and CSEA. We also sponsor a water station out in the course. So we have some DOT workers and their families. We usually have about 30 or 40 people going through and handing out water to runners as they come by.
I think that's one of my favorite memories from running it. It was, I mean, it's mid-July. It was hot. I don't think it was unbearable, but it was hot, and people handing out. There was water. I think some guy was handing out cups of beer. I'm not sure how I felt about that mid-run.
It was not an official aid station.
No, that's true. That it was not. My favorite was someone was handing out ice pops.
Yeah.
Oh, that was
must
needed.
Be great after.
Little sugar, little cool. That got me through the end. And then I think there was just a random guy who had a hose and was just spraying people. And he pointed at me. He was like, "You want?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." And he just sprayed me with water. Like I said, if I was going for a personal best, maybe not, but I wasn't. I was hot. Yeah, just spray me. Someone had a sprinkler set up. You could detour and run through the sprinkler.
Yep.
I mean, it's such a cool event.
It sounds like a community tailgate party and road race. That kind of like that sense of team spirit, but for everybody, the community and the runners.
Over by mile 2.5, there's like 4 or 5 houses that they're out there in the lounge chairs drinking margaritas, drinking Bloody Marys, just having a grand old time, and that's what it's all about.
Yep.
That's what it's all about.
Music all along the course, whether it's radio stations, whether it's bands just playing there. I mean, it's a carnival type atmosphere. It definitely is something to behold, even if you're not a runner. And I know, if you are, great. It's a great race to be a part of. If you're not a runner, just to go and be there is just to kind of be a part of the event is definitely worthwhile. It's an experience for sure.
Come and be with us because we always need athletic supporters.
No pun intended.
We're here for the good times and the humor. So, Jim, I'll bring it back to you. How long have you been race director for the Boilermaker?
This is my 16th year as race director, but I've been involved different aspects of the race for over 30. And this is our 47th year of the race.
And how have you personally seen and in many ways ushered in the growth and the change? I mean, a lot of it wasn't always what it is now. How have you seen that from your front row seat?
I think as more people came in, we had to do something to provide safe running surfaces, safe running experience for everything. So as the crowds started to grow, the Boilermaker had to grow with it. And again, you get bigger, you got more responsibility. And it's always been an organization that, we look at safety first. That's the main thing. And that's where DOT always came in to help us out with closing of the roads, especially the state highways and everything else. We get the barrels, we get the cones. They're out there in the morning, then getting the state police involved, sheriff's department, everything. But it's been the growth was great, but that also forced our hand to make sure that we're doing everything that we should be doing and doing it properly. We go through a painstaking process of permitting for not only DOT, but the county, city, other municipalities. We don't want to say, we don't want to poo-poo anything and not do it. Oh, the Boilermaker gets away with it. How come we go by the book? We make sure that we have every I dotted and T crossed, and we do it by the book. And if we don't do it. So
I was going to ask, what compels you to stay this involved? But it seems pretty obvious. This is a passion project for you.
It really is, and it's a year-round business. Boilermaker it's $1 million business. We own a building. So there's always things to be done in the building, and now it's just a little bit crazy. Actually, yesterday I couldn't sleep, so I got out of bed at 3 o'clock and started answering emails. Had the same problem this morning, but I went for a walk first.
Yeah.
And then I started answering emails. But yeah, it's a passion.
What's interesting to me is that you've been able to have the benefit of seeing this race from pretty much its earlier beginnings. I know you weren't involved in 78, but you owned a business. You're a mechanic, retired mechanic. You had a garage in town. You guys even offered a water station and entertainment, right?
Yeah, we had a garage just before mile 1. And Earl Reed, the founder, says, "Hey, can you guys put a water station here?" I said, "Of course we can." We had a tow truck. So we got a hose out and put it on a little mist and actually put a rod on the hose so it was misting the runners as they were going by. And, got involved more and more. And I was a runner back then, so, we get all set up. My family all worked the water stop there. And, and it was nice about that. Everybody got everything cleaned up, and then they could all go to the post-race party and drink beer.
Great. But it's been a generational thing.
Oh, yes, absolutely, yes. Yeah.
That's fantastic. Now, we sometimes ask our guests what their favorite DOT road trip is. And we also ask at the end of our show, what might be your favorite road tripping song? But in this case, because it's about the Boilermaker, maybe we can ask you, what is your favorite stretch of the Boilermaker, as well as maybe like something that you listen to or your favorite running music. Jim, you go ahead.
Okay. While I'm racing, I don't have earphones on because I want to listen to directions or hear the wheelchair runners on your right, whatever. So I don't listen. But when I was training, I just listened to classical music. That was relaxing for me. Again, training for marathons by myself on a Sunday morning, doing a 22-mile run, listening to classical music, watching the sun come up in the morning. It's better than going to church sometimes,
nice.
But again, my favorite stretch of the Boilermaker, I always liked, I hate to say this, but going uphill in the golf course, because then you're hitting the highest point, and it's going to be mostly downhill. And boy, if you were running in a group and you could whistle while you were going uphill, you could demoralize all the people around you. So I tried a lot of times. Sometimes I ended up spitting on myself, but but it was good. But the course is beautiful. The entire course is beautiful.
Yeah,
yes.
Lovely area.
Yes.
Mike?
So I would say my favorite stretch, similar when you talk about the hills, it's that last tough stretch, for me anyways, most difficult part, running up Burstone, where it's wide open, not a lot of shade. And it's the last uphill grading before you start breaking around the corner at Utica College, because once you break that corner, then it's all downhill, running down Champlain before you start turning towards the end there. So if you make it up that last long, slow, steady grade on Champlain, you know you're going to be done with that race shortly and be able to have a Cold Glass Utica club.
That's one of the requests we've had in the past. Can somebody straighten that, level that hill out?
Yeah.
Now that's a state highway, so
You're
maybe this is a good forum where we can bring that up. And what about so
the course is too hilly. I'd rather be more flat.
Yeah.
What can you do? So do you listen to music when you run?
Typically, I don't listen to music when I run.
The music of nature?
Yeah. The more I think about it, I've never put headphones on, but you see everybody doing it.
Well, Jim, Mike, thank you so much for taking some time and sitting down with us here at NYSDOT, and we really appreciate it and appreciate all the work you do. We're really excited for this year's Boilermaker coming up right around the corner, and everyone who is running, good luck, have fun out there, and everyone who's not running, get out there. Get out there. It's definitely worth the trip if you've never been. And Anya, I'm looking at you because
I know,
of the people at this table, you're the one.
I'm the only one that's not a runner.
I'm just saying. Well, again, guys, thank you so much again for what you guys do, and good luck at this year's event. I'm sure we'll go off without a hitch. But thanks for taking some time. This was great.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, and thank DOT for what they do for us. Appreciate it.
Well, that'll about do it for us here from the DOT POD. Another good one in the books, Anya.
Oh, this was great. And I love being here on the campus of MVCC.
Absolutely.
Really great campus, amazing community, and fantastic people.
And again, finding out more about NYSDOT, just listen to last episode that came on a couple weeks ago where we were right here at NYSDOT talking about it, and find out more about the New York State Association of Transportation Engineers. That's just about going to do it for us here from the DOT POD. We'll see you right back here next time. So long, everyone, from the DOT POD.